We are rolling.
Welcome to another episode of the Creative Businessmen. On this bonus episode, it's just Daniel, special guest Jordan Fisher, who's a brilliant comedian and artist, and also Tom Simmons, who's also a really talented comedian and writer. Not sure what they talk about because I haven't seen the episode yet, but I look forward to seeing it, and I'm sure it's great. And I'm sure since Daniel's the host on it, then there'll be a lot of business discussions in the episode, which is cool. And I look forward to watching. I hope you guys enjoy it. Be sure to like and subscribe. We really appreciate your support, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.
Paul, let me make some money real quick.
Yeah, do what you got to do, buddy.
It's important. I just sold my crypto. It seems stupid.
See, I wish I got in on that shit.
When I first started talking about
this
it,
is
and
the guy to
believed in
ask
it.
questions to. So tell us what you're doing right now, Daniel.
I just sold. Well, so what I'm doing right now, I made a. Were we recording?
We can
That's
stop.
fine. No, that's fine. I've made a large amount of money since last Thursday, but what I'm doing right now is probably really stupid. But I'm in and out of my trade position in Dogecoin probably in the last 2 days, the last 24 to 40 hours, like 12 to 15 times to the tune of about $3,000 in profit each time.
Yeah.
So what do you mean in and out of my trade position?
So basically, let's say every time Dogecoin goes up by a penny with my current position holding, I increase by about $3,000 per penny. So every time it goes up by a penny, I make $3,000. So like right now, I just executed a sell, and I made $3,000 from the position I took when we started the podcast.
Jesus.
Wow.
How much does it cost you to make those trades
So
each time?
if it's $3,000 a penny, then you would need to have 300,000 coins.
Oof.
Okay.
That's a lot.
Right now, then take 300,000 and divide it by its current market price, and give you an estimate. Let's say you need to have $75,000 in play at one point.
Did that answer my question? I don't even know.
In other words, you'd have to front 75 grand.
Yeah. So right now,
In order to be able to, if you want,
make
depending
the
on how much
$3,000
money you have
profit.
in there, they don't charge you to play with money. But
Well-
if it's like somebody like me that has $10,000 in there, then every time I make that trade, it costs me a percentage.
it depends on what app you're using and what base. Like Robinhood's whole premise was free trading. They've got a very
Until people started making money.
But if you use other apps, Robinhood has a very limited selection. So I use several different apps and buy different things based on different ones. But I also bought a stupid token coin, the Shiba Inu coin and token rather. And even though I think the math doesn't make any sense, but most of the crypto stuff doesn't. And it's went up and up and up and up. I made a ton of money since last week on it.
Really?
So you do NFTs?
I've done a few, not many. And it's a multi-billion-dollar market too.
Yeah. See, I don't know anything about that. Like I put like, this is nothing to you, but like I put like $250 into Dogecoin, like when Elon Musk was about to host SNL, just thinking like, oh well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And now it's like I have like $60 because
I was gonna say you probably bought it at 50 cents or something.
Yeah,
I think that's about that time.
Yeah.
So I think the problem is let me ask you this question: have you ever put $200 in the stock market?
Yeah, but see, here's the thing.
It was Krispy Kreme, and then they went out of business.
Yeah, like I have no financial literacy when it comes to the stocks or anything like that. So like I did
fucking go.
Yeah, I did like the AMC thing and made like $2,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
And
See,
then
this
just
is-
got out.
there you go.
Yeah.
This is why this is important, right? Because it's people like you and me and Tom who are entertainers and artists,
Right.
and we don't understand, we don't have financial literacy. I
Yeah.
mean, Tom a little bit more so,
Yeah.
but you and I for sure not. I'm a baby, right?
Yeah.
And you're a smart kid, but you don't.
I don't know.
don't know
Nobody
this stuff.
exposed me to that kind
So
of
let's
stuff.
ask these questions
Yeah.
because Daniel, in Jordan's situation, he's a young professional. His career is on the uptick. He's very intelligent. He does want that lake home.
Yeah.
If you were advising him in this situation, is there any advice that you would give him? Is there any questions
sure.
that you need answered, Jordan?
Yeah, I need to know what to do with this savings.
So I think I'd need to have a really long conversation with you to figure out, again, begin with the end in mind. What's your goal? You got long-term goals. That's one thing. But first
More
of all,
money, more money, more
Mo
money.
money,
That-
mo
that's-
money.
Sum it up. That's
I
the
love
goal.
more money. God damn, that's fun. I think the problem with cash is it's designed to devalue. This is not a political thing. This is facts,
Yeah.
right? So
That's what makes the coin, the digital currency so intriguing to me, and that's what I've always sort of loved about it. Is it's not, you can't be controlled and manipulated by a government, and
gold.
it can't be.
Yeah.
It doesn't get.
Well,
the inflation doesn't hit it because you can't just print it out of nowhere.
Yeah.
A finite amount exists, and
Depending
it's
on-
just math. It's
Yeah.
good math.
Yeah, depending on the coin and then or the token or the thing you're talking about, you're right. And then what they're trying to figure out. So let's use Shiba Inu. What they're trying to do is figure out a way to burn.
Sounds like a Pokemon.
It does. It does. It seems embarrassing to even talk about, but they're trying to figure out a burn rate, where every time you buy or sell, there's some amount of it being burnt because there's so much of it made, right? And so if you create a burn, what happens is eventually over a time, there's less and less and less in circulation, which should cause the value to go up.
Okay.
Because if you're doing
Just
real,
like forests on the planet.
yeah. You got to replant the seed. But so here's a problem with this coin. Everybody's like, it's going to 10 cents, it's going to $1. Well, at this point currently, and there's 500 trillion tokens, and at 1 penny, if they were valued at 1 penny each, right? Do 500 trillion times 1 penny. Let's figure.
Jesus, I mean,
You got to play for like 12 hours before
I
you
think
get
it's
to
five.
there.
I think
Just
it's
go
$5 trillion.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
reminds me of just like the tokens you get when you play skee ball.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Is it 50
Five-
million? I don't
I'm
know
thinking
how this
I'm thinking
works.
5 trillion. But
All right.
but either way,
I don't even know that, dude. That's how much money that is. I don't know how to put trillion in the
Yeah.
calculator.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
what I'm getting at is there's a ton of them, right?
Right.
And everybody's like, it's going to a penny. Well, if you do that, then what you're really saying is that coin at 1 penny is the most valuable thing, the more valuable than any stock, more valuable than any company, right? And I think that's hard to buy. It's hard to swallow, especially at 10 cents. It definitely becomes hard to buy and hard to swallow. So they need to create utility for that to make sense. And utility means we need to be able to use it. You need to be able to utilize it, right? It needs to have a purpose. And they are doing things like being able to use it as a base for NFTs and other things and other various ways to transfer in and out of other things, right?
Yeah.
And so they're creating a burn, essentially, which means that some of those coins are going to come out of circulation. Those tokens, rather, are going to come out of circulation. I think those things all lead to better things. But it still seems to me like basic math, that it can only go to a certain point because there's only so much cash in circulation, right? There's only so much value that it can be before people like me go, oh, hey, and people much, much wealthier than I am that go, okay, hey, I'm going to take my profit.
Yeah.
And the moment that they do that, the number shoots back down somewhat, and you end up with some range. You end up with a bottom and a top, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, for me, what I've figured out with crypto is it doesn't follow the same guidelines as stock. It doesn't have to make sense because what's pushing crypto right now is hype.
Yeah.
It's being talked about like crazy, right? It's all over the news. And so people are buying that have never bought stock before.
You don't think some of it is a built-in thing to it in the way the economic models work, where it is flat out just a more efficient form of store of
currency.
value?
Dogecoin is not.
Yeah.
It's not a.
Well, that's what I love. That's what I think about Bitcoin. So all the
but-
other ones, I'm like, all right, they're all just knockoffs that are.
I agree with what you're saying in general. I do think if we fast forward 10 years from now,
Yeah.
I think coins and tokens and things that have utility will still be here and be very, very, very valuable, right?
Yeah.
And what we're really talking about is the technology that operates those things, right? Which is, we can call it whatever we're going to call it, but it's blockchain technology. Mm-hmm. So, yes, I do think long-term that technology is much more efficient, much better at performing these tasks. Think about, go back, even a few decades, how writing a check, go back 10 years ago. I mean, like, literally you wrote a check for everything, right?
Yeah.
Are you not supposed to write checks still?
I haven't written a check in.
Yeah. People like you at the grocery store.
But
I gotta write a check for this fucking bill I've been carrying around in my pocket.
But you think about utility and moving faster. Like if I go to wire money, even from my bank to your bank across the street, it literally, even a wire, if I do the transfer before 3 o'clock that day, it could process the same day, but it might be the next morning. It makes no sense. Whereas with an app, I can transfer instantly and for a much less cost.
So what is if I wanted to have a Bitcoin wallet and get I have some Bitcoin that a guy has held for me since he tried to sell CDs and Bitcoin. Like somebody basically paid $900 for one of my CDs.
Yeah, oh, wow.
In retrospect, because
Awesome.
of
Awesome.
whatever
Yeah.
it is. So
Yeah.
a few of those CDs I have sold. So I have this little, but he just holds it for me. He's always like, get a wallet, blah blah blah, and I just never do because I'm like, I'm gonna lose this somehow.
Yeah.
You're gonna lose your wallet.
my digital wallet.
Yes.
You dummy.
And so what I would like to have is because I believe in it. I believe that it is the currency, sort of a store of value.
Well, it's kind of like,
And so why can I
have
not-
to get it
Yeah.
right now? Because I feel like we're headed toward, we're in such a digital market now where it's like it's starting to head towards that Blade Runner shit where it's like
Yeah.
transfer my credits over and it's like, all I have is dollars.
Yeah.
Like, that's useless, you piece of shit.
That's funny.
Starving to death
Yeah.
with a fistful of money.
Yeah.
I think that
exactly.
when I was like tipping at Starbucks and I
Yeah.
give him $1, I feel like now I'm like the guy when I was a kid. We're like, here's a nickel, young man. Here's $1. Go
nothing
get
for me.
yourself a half a piece of gum.
Get yourself a peppermint.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's like, physical Tinder.
So
Ugh.
That's hilarious.
So what do I look for in I want a safe and secure wallet that I can also use as a savings account where I can just put money in there and regularly just buy whatever.
What's a good financial tool online?
I use, so just predominantly, I've got CoinCap, Coinbase, Robinhood, Bitstamp, Crypto.com, and I've got Google Authenticator apps.
So all
That's
of
too
them.
many.
No. What I'm getting at is you're gonna. It's really going to come down to personal preference and what type of coin are you buying? Are you actually actively going to buy coins, or is your plan the $900 worth of, which is not a Bitcoin? You've got a fractional piece.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
a
it's
Bitcoin.
more than 900. just
How
putting
much
the
is a
number out there.
Bitcoin, by the way?
It's like 30,000.
There's 60,000 right now, I think.
Yes.
Dude, I'm pretty sure that Tom
So-
Brady just gave one away the other day.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So he threw his 600 touchdown pass, and the guy who caught it ran into the crowd and gave the ball away, and they had to get it back. So they gave him season tickets and some jerseys. And then at the press conference, Tom Brady was like, I think I'm going to give him a Bitcoin too.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, this
Yeah.
fucking guy.
Which would be great.
Yeah. So
and all he had to do was hand the football
All he had
back.
to do is
Yeah.
all he had to do is reach out his hands and
Fantastic,
take it.
60,000.
Well, and I think he said he was going to do that because of how cool the guy was. He was like, "Oh, that's his 600 ball, of course."
Yeah.
He could have kept it,
Right, yeah.
But he decided, and it was
Yeah.
it's a good interaction between people.
Yeah.
yeah, Bitcoin's at 58,896 right now. It's down about $2,000 since we started
Jeez Louise.
earlier today.
Which is wild, man.
That's crazy.
because it's like-
But if you look at the trajectory of it
Yeah.
since whatever 2010 when it came out,
Yeah.
it does in the short term do a lot of that right, but it's a constant
always
going
going
up
up.
because it just makes economic sense and
Yeah.
it's the safest, most real one.
Yeah.
It could literally drive down it can produce off of steam, off
Yeah.
of blah, blah, blah. They can build little mini power plants,
Right.
Yeah.
they can use all this renewable energy, and
Yeah,
and you can
that's
see by
where I
how
get
much it's
confused.
attacked,
Yeah.
by how much they don't want it to take
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, I get confused by how it's created, where it's
Well,
what's the value?
They're mining it. So what they're
It's a just mathematical formula, basically.
yeah, what they're doing
I don't know what that
is
means.
the more. So Bitcoin has, and I'm going to do a terrible job explaining this, but in very layman's terms, for myself, for my own personal benefit, what happens is the more coins that were mined, the harder the other ones get. And let's say that you have a computer that's really, really, really intelligent. It's harder for that computer at this point to mine, even than what it was, say, 5 years ago or 10 years ago, right? It becomes more and more and more difficult. The algorithm, if you will, becomes more and more difficult to mine to create a Bitcoin, right? And so you have this other thing that's taking place. It's just math, basically.
But
It's
by a
algorithms.
certain time, they'll all be
Mined.
produced,
Right.
And they'll all be mined,
And it's
part
a
of-
finite number.
But but a lot of them get rewarded in Bitcoin because of what he was talking about with the blockchain, where
Yeah.
anytime there's a transaction that happens in the algorithm of Bitcoin, it bounces around to where it's authenticated by
Right. There's
What's
people
the
that have to.
By a bunch of
What's
people.
the question you just had?
I'm just trying to wrap my head around
It's fictitious as the
mining
money in
it.
your wallet.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's-
right. Have
it's
you ever
fiat.
wrapped your head around what the money is we have in our wallet, which is
I
literally
know, I
backed
know.
by nothing
I know,
except debt and made up out of
but
nowhere?
I'm just
Which
trying to
camera?
figure out like
Which camera am I on, real quick here?
Right there.
yeah,
Can we see? So these pieces of paper
Yeah.
that are green,
yeah,
that we say, so this is supposedly, I don't know.
$1,000.
If you're about to say you don't want it, I'll take it.
No, but-
Which one of
but-
these fucking guys I got to kill?
That's
Daniel?
more than $1,000.
Yeah, so whatever this is, right? Why does this have a value? And the answer is because we
We say
perceive
this,
that it
yeah.
does,
Right,
right?
right.
So most people go out and exchange dollars for hours. They exchange their time, their life, their
Energy.
earning, their energy for pieces of paper.
Yes.
Right? And then we take this piece of paper and then we buy things that we perceive value.
Right.
Right? And most people don't think in the way that Warren Buffett says to think. Back in the day, he would say, when I bought a Snickers, he's like, or a Big Mac from Burger King, since he's a Burger King fanatic, he didn't think about the Big Mac was $3. He thought about the Big Mac as a unit of what it would cost him over time, the long-term value of that money had he invested it, right? So really, that burger that was $3 might have cost him $5,000. And so, like, you have to look at each purchase based off of its long-term potential.
Yeah.
So if you look at cryptocurrency, I think it makes, on some level, makes more sense than this paper does. On another sense, it only has value because we say it has value. It has value now because millions of people have put their money in it. They're parking money in it. They're holding it, which means it's propping the value. It's a limited supply. So it's a limited supply, more people competing for those things, and with Bitcoin specifically, it's a dwindling number. The supply is a specific finite eventually.
It can't be fucked with.
Yeah, so
It can't, like some of these other ones, like Ethereum and stuff like that, they have like a board of directors or whatever,
Yeah.
and so they can make changes to it and make it. So to me, that cuts its value off,
Right.
Yeah.
because it's not organic and real and
Yeah.
stuck to a formula. It's
So-
still based on.
To the point of mining, I think what Jordan's asking is that energy put forth?
there's an energy component
that's
to
the
it,
return?
but basically what we're, the setup. So one of our crypto rigs that
So you do?
I have
You mine for
we're
crypto.
dabbling in it. I don't want to.
Yeah, sure.
We're dabbling in
I
it.
was just wondering about that because I saw a video of them
Yeah.
in Texas on top of where there's like where methane is being
Yeah.
exposed or
So-
open flames, where they've installed these little portable power units that then get that free energy
Yep.
and then mine for Bitcoin.
So
And so,
Mr.
like, I was like-
that's where I'm getting confused.
Okay,
Okay.
I've never seen it either, but I
Okay, so that's where I get confused with like the actual mining thing. It's like there is no physical Bitcoin. So
What's the energy?
it's
what-
just a euphemism, mining. So
I know,
think.
but it's like
A
like
euphemism
there's a
for
cap
what?
to it. Yeah, there's a cap to it. So, but it's like we're mining more. It's like what is there like?
So-
How is
so-
it like? Oh,
Let's
we
talk for
found
dummies here.
3 Bitcoin here in this energy in this like steam. Like, how does that work? Like, what is
Yeah.
that?
So
that is
the way that I understand it, and the way that the way that makes sense to me is let's say that each one of us physically represented a Bitcoin, and let's say it's a math formula, and a computer solves your math formula, and you're not worth 1 Bitcoin, you're worth 1 million Bitcoin. Okay, they solve all the algorithms that lead to the recovery of your 1 million Bitcoin that you were holding, right? And every time they solve one part of they solve your toe, then the pinky toe becomes more difficult, and the formula becomes more and more and more difficult, and it's just algorithms solving problems.
Right,
where he's saying
and
like
then-
where is the Bitcoin store where
it's-
they're like who's the
You're getting
what's
it-
the machine that goes okay
Is
It's
it a riddle?
rewarded. It's an algorithm. You're solving a problem, right? You're having to. So how do you crack how do people that are hacking computers crack them? That's what's going on. We're literally cracking the code. They were already made. The code to crack
made
them, the person that created
Okay.
Bitcoin.
So
I
it's
can't
the
remember his name.
original.
Right.
He basically created a game to play.
Essentially, yeah. And you're rewarded by solving the problem. But the challenge with this game is that
fucking crazy.
the more problems you solve, the more difficult it gets.
this is some Ready Player One shit.
Yeah,
Right?
right.
So now imagine that, and then every time you progress through the coins, every time you step to each one of us, as it becomes less and less and less available, it gets harder and harder and harder to solve.
So we're playing Candy Crush.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I like
Money.
it.
I mean,
Right.
yeah,
but
it is
it basically comes down to energy
Yeah,
energy
energy
spent. Right?
spent.
Time,
Exactly.
Time exerted. right?
exactly.
and it pays for that
Time spent,
and
yes.
then because then you're in the verification process
Right.
you get like
Okay.
bonus points for the,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
still random but
Yep.
the more you're
Wow.
participating in it the
Yeah.
more you sort of win.
So there's a finite number, and so Bitcoin. So there's some people that complain about Bitcoin. I think long-term Bitcoin is a good use of store value, and the reason I say store value versus everyday utility is it's harder to move.
it's like gold versus money.
Yes. So that's what will end up happening. That'll be the modern day version of gold. And then you'll have coins that have more utility, that are less expensive and less heavy lifting, less volatile, and less expensive, that you would use for everyday transactions. And so what I think, and I'm guessing, just like anybody else is out there, what I guess is that you have a pickle, you have a penny, a nickel, a dime, a quarter, a dollar, right? Think about those names. They're arbitrary names, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of a penny, maybe a penny means a Dogecoin, right? Mm-hmm. A Doge.
Yeah.
It's just a different name.
Yeah.
It's a store of value. It's worth 1 cent.
Right.
Well, maybe the 5-cent version is called Ethereum, right? And maybe the dollar version, instead of being called a dollar, is called something else. And maybe a Bitcoin is a block of gold.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like, just take the change in your wallet or in your jar at home. And each thing is a store of value with a different name. Treat crypto that way. Each thing is a store of value with a different name. And over time, this is how I think about it. I'm not anybody special when it comes to this. This is how it makes sense to me. But over time, cryptocurrencies will become more stable.
Yeah.
Right. And right now we're dealing with the volatility because it's something new. And then as they become more stable, I think those units of measure become more predictable. So like if I was
they become more spendable.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to spend can you imagine the person that paid, $3,000 for a CD?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, and so when you go to the gas station to fill up your gas tank, you would never bring a brick of gold to pay for your gas.
Right.
Everybody's like, you'd never use Bitcoin. Well, I would say you would never use a brick of gold.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It's a store of value. It's not designed to be used
also,
daily.
Everything's always ever changing and
100%.
evolutionary. So it's like at one point, we did drop down we'd weigh out gold to get a horse or whatever.
Right.
And now we're like, oh, well, paper is much easier to carry around.
Before that, it was shells or whatever. There's always been a store of value.
That's in the digital world that we live in now. That's what it's about to be.
So that's where it switched for me, was when I started thinking about the names of these cryptocurrencies and replacing it with, what if this was called a penny? What if it was called a nickel? It would make more sense, right?
Oh, yeah.
So for me, it helped really water it down and go, wait a second. Really what we're talking about are temporary stores of value. We're talking about the exact same stuff as green paper in my pocket.
Right.
Right. But how long does it take to get to where we're not volatile? I think you're a decade out. Like literally. I think it takes time because you need mass exception.
That's not even that long
It's
away.
not in the grand scheme of
But that's
things.
what I mean about it's constantly going to go here, and then it's going to settle into what it really is.
That's what my concern is, and that's what my question is, as somebody that's not in the crypto world right now. If you want to buy into it,
so be careful with fads.
To start?
I'd say be careful with fads. I would not do, personally, I wouldn't do. So the problem is this is just, let's say that you don't invest in anything, but now you want to put 100% of every dollar you invest into crypto. I think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
Right? But that's what people are doing. So it is what it is. And some people, it's paying off wildly, right? But you have people that have never invested $1 in their life that are turning around and investing everything they have in crypto, something they know nothing about.
It's a roulette wheel.
Yeah.
That's how I always look at the stuff.
So I think if you're aggressive, if you're an aggressive person and you're younger, not for any other reason, then the older you get, the less time you have to recover. You make a bad financial decision at 70, it's different than a bad one at 17. Right? Because of the time to recover.
Yeah.
So make big mistakes early on if you're going to make them while you're young, because you have time to recover if you have the mental fortitude to deal with that. But otherwise, I would say if you're not aggressive, I'd cap it at 10% of your net worth, your liquid, whatever amount you're in crypto. If you are aggressive, I'd say go as high as 20%. If you're just super all crypto and that's what you want to do and you don't want to invest in anything else, then maybe you raise that number up higher. I think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
And I think you need to figure out what type of investor you are. Are you trying to day trade? Are you trying to scalp? Are you trying to intraday trade? Are you going to live, eat, and breathe it and watch it? Or are you just thinking, hey, this is part of the future. Let's take the Edward Jones method. Edward Jones is a financial institution. They believe in dollar cost averaging. So dollar cost averaging essentially means that, okay, I'm going to buy stock or crypto or whatever every single week. I'm going to buy $100 of crypto, whether it's up, whether it's down, irregardless, every single week like clockwork. On Monday, I'm going to execute a $100 trade, which means at the end of this year, I'm going to execute $5,200 into crypto, right? And next year, I'm going to do $5,200, and the next year, I'm going to do $5,200, and the next year, I'm going to do $5,200, et cetera. But, and maybe as your finances grow, that number grows, right? But dollar cost averaging means that what you've done is over a long period of time, your average cost per coin is not going to be as affected by the volatility of the market, because you weren't in the market to sell, you were in the market to buy. And in theory, if like what Tom's saying is it's going to go up over time, well then what you've done is you've secured tokens or coins or stock
Yeah.
at today's value, at what rate you could, and even if it was to go up in flames, that's why I say picking up like 10%. You know, it doesn't affect your life, but you're also locking in lower stores of value, right? And then over time, you'll come up with an average. So if we fast forward 5 years, and you've been buying the same coin, that current price of that coin might be $50, but your average price might be $3, right? Because you were buying a little bit over a long period of time. So dollar cost averaging is a good method to use.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. Like, what's a good wallet to do that? Like, here's my chunk. And
I
then
think
I
an
want to add
easy
in
wallet,
$100
an
a
easy
month or
app to
whatever.
start with would be Robinhood.
Something about them bugged me, the way they
Yeah.
Shut
sort of
everything
changed the
off
rules
with
when it
GameStop,
was
yeah.
when it was inconvenient.
Well, it wasn't just them.
So let's
It doesn't
talk
matter.
about
They're still
They're all-
on the side of wrong.
they're
let's
all
talk
they're
about
all that
specifically
way.
what happened with Robinhood. Could you break
'Cause
that
I don't
down
know, I'm
for
just
us?
going with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, a couple of things happened there, and it wasn't just.
Fucking Tom don't know nothing. He's just a troublemaker.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't like what they did.
And I hated the movie.
What did they
it was
do?
awful.
I saw
You talking about the most recent one?
Yes.
Yeah. I think so. It's very complex. I should have researched this before we talked about it, but I'll tell you.
You've said that literally every single time we've talked.
I know. You have great.
That's good, though,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good,
Well,
though. At least he's honest.
that's my
I know.
disclosure. Like, hey
Yeah.
guys, this is.
We are not doctors.
Yeah.
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 So most people just repeat some shit that they said on a meme as fact.
Yeah.
You know.
So this is all definitely my opinion. So go get some real advice if you're gonna spend some money. This is just advice of your everyday.
This is a free YouTube consult.
Exactly.
Yes.
Completely free.
He gives me the advice, and I'm like, I don't like that advice.
I did not make my millions in crypto or anything.
I'm going back to Dave Ramsey.
But
But an IRA, you didn't even mention. Isn't that the standard one? Put it money, $2,500 into an IRA, especially when you're young.
well, you can.
Roth
IRAs, pre-tax or after tax. But so real quick on
Yeah,
Robinhood,
let's
what
stay on
happened?
Robinhood.
Essentially, what happened is, one, you had all these. This is gonna be a complex conversation, but you have companies that bet against the market, that bet against companies, right? And it's called naked shorts typically, but essentially they take a short position, meaning if you're buying stock, you're buying it with the anticipation it's going to go up in value. If you're shorting a stock, you're basically betting that it's not going to go up, it's going to go down, right?
So is that be at the craps table where you go up and you bet
Yes.
with the house?
You bet with the house. You bet that so once
they're
you
gonna
make
break the players.
once you make the point, so you roll a 7 or 11 on craps table, you make the point, you can win. Then you make the point. You roll a 4, now 4's the point. Right? So now the only way that you win is you bet any number on the table other than 7, obviously. And 4 is the actual, that's how you win the money on the money line or the money behind the line, right? So, and this is going to be lost for people who don't play craps. But if you roll a 7 at that point, you lose, right? So if I wanted to bet with the house, statistically speaking,
Yeah.
if your point's a 4, statistically you're more likely to roll a 7. So I'll bet with the house. I'll bet that you're going to roll a 7 before 4, right? And the math is in my favor. Now, obviously, everybody knows that one time that the guy rolled 23 times and they got paid, but statistics work over a long period of time. Like if we do something a million times, statistically, if I'd have done it that way a million times, I'd have been right more than I was wrong.
That's how I make money at roulette.
There you go.
I swear to God.
Yeah.
I sit very patiently. I find the lowest level roulette table, and then I look for the first run of either number or color. If it's even or odd, 3 or 4 times in a row, I
Yeah.
start betting against the other. If it's red or black 3 or 4 times in a row, I
Yeah.
start betting against the other. And then every time, 2.5 times my bet. Every single fucking time.
Yeah.
Because eventually the other one's going to come. The odds of it hitting 20 times in a row are astronomical. And
Yeah.
if you sit there, you can grind that win
Yeah.
out over the course of 8 hours. You can make a few $100s.
Yeah, I prefer blackjack. I just want to put that out for everybody.
Yeah.
The math's a lot easier for me to
Yeah,
to keep
and the
up with.
benefit, the benefit.
Yeah.
is in
Roulette's a
your
lot
favor.
more fun.
Roulette, well, not the way I play it.
Yeah.
The way I play it, I look like an autistic kid that just got a day out.
Yeah. So
Let's drop Eric off at the tables. He'll
Yeah.
keep himself busy.
we need to go to the casino, man. This is that's what I do to let my mind rest. But so anyway, you have these companies, a series of companies, but one specifically that took major short positions, and they were losing billions of dollars because you had another essentially group that was basically saying, hey, there's these large short positions on the stock. They're going to run, literally you can run a company out of business, but they're keeping this stock artificially deflated, and we're going to just buy. And so when you have a short position, they have these cells built in so that they can limit their losses. And as that stock started climbing, they started forcing sales. And as that happened, the stock's climbing, it started forcing sales. And these companies literally have stop losses built in so they can limit, because as the stock goes up and they're betting it goes down, they're losing money as it goes up. And it keeps triggering sales. And every time that triggers those sales, that stock just kept going up and up and up and up and up. And you saw this really crazy thing where they literally took billions of dollars from these people that were shorting. And and this is a terrible description of this, but woe is Wall Street, right? And what happened was what they've been doing to the regular person the whole time.
On them.
It was flipped on them.
Love that.
So there are a couple of issues. One, you got to remember Robinhood's a new company, and there wasn't the only one it happened to. But the third-party company that was processing all the trades, which is there's some entanglements with that with another company, was where the real issue was, where they weren't able to process the trades. It halted all the trading. So you saw it affect on the Robinhood app, but they're actually not the one that was executing the trade anyway. So there's a whole convoluted thing. I agree it's an issue, which is why I don't put all my money in one app, just like I don't have all my money in one bank. Right? I don't use just Robinhood. I don't use just Ally. I don't use just Merrill Lynch or Edward Jones. I mean, like I literally, you talk about diversification. So you need to diversify risk as well. So like I don't want to put 100% of my assets.
I don't even remember my Google Gmail password.
Yeah.
I got to remember seven different
so
banks.
I legit just found out how to save passwords on your iPhone like the other day.
Jesus.
I swear to God, the other day Neil showed me, and that was like 4 days ago. My life's completely different now.
Really? You don't feel like now I've got all my passwords right here, easily hackable?
Oh, bro.
Fucking.
The FBI,
Everything.
took 4 months for the FBI to crack the iPhone. So
Also-
I don't know about easily hackable.
that's a good call.
Also, they're gonna hack my passwords. Those aren't even my passwords. I use everyone else's Netflix accounts. I have $200 in the bank. There's nothing at risk here. I do
hilarious.
not have to
When did
diversify
you
my
get
risk.
$200?
That was I tipped him at the bar the other night. Yeah.
I cracked him a beer. He gave me $200.
Yeah.
He pat me on the head and said, "One of these days, kid."
One of these days. But here's some real good advice: is find a company or a person that you trust. So like if you guys were all going to bet on me being a stand-up comedian, I think that's a mistake. I think if we all sit here in a group, the problem is you guys.
I think the three of us could make you a stand-up.
Probably.
I think
but-
betting on myself was a mistake.
Right. Well, and if you truly believe that, then what I would tell you is take that same approach with crypto and with stock. While you're learning, employ somebody else that lives that business, that's successful at it.
It's like you said earlier, find someone who's good at the thing you want to do, right?
Yeah.
Spend time, ask questions.
So in the beginning, you want to dabble, you want to learn, you want to play. Open a wallet, put whatever amount of money. And I know everybody goes, well, I don't want to even lose $100.
I had Coinbase for a while,
Yeah.
and it was pretty simple. I think
Yeah.
you could understand Coinbase.
Yeah,
You're a dummy.
Put $100 in, or $1,000 in, or $10. Put some amount of money, some arbitrary money that you're not worried about losing, and just learn how to execute
I won
a trade.
some gambling money playing roulette online.
Yeah.
And I put it in the Coinbase. I messed around. I got it up a little bit, and then I sent it all to my kid because I didn't want to take care of it anymore. But the wallet was pretty easy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do that, but I would implore you to find somebody that's living it, right? Unless you want to be the guy that lives it, right?
Well, here's the fucking issue, Daniel, is you're the only one we know. You know what I mean?
We're all
And you
like,
ain't
what
got
is
time."
that thing?
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
It looks like a podcast because of all the cameras, but we're just trying to figure out how to make some fucking money.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, I keep a very small amount of my liquid net worth in it. Very small amount.
Really? You just had my mortgage payment in your money clip.
Well, I had to get a money clip because my wallet got so
Fat.
Neil's like, man, you're gonna mess that wallet up. But
Oh, it got so fat. Goddamn money and tax write-off receipts.
that's funny. It's very true. No, I don't have the receipts though.
You've been an entrepreneur for
Long
how
time.
long? Yeah,
Long
and
time, yeah.
How
So,
many businesses have you been in and out of? do
Too
you
many.
think?
I started when I was 13.
We're in the hundreds, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Bought
yeah.
and sold.
Oh
and
yeah.
Still active.
I started when I was 13. I go to the health department, get free condoms. All you kids out there, you can go to the health department and still get free condoms. They limited me to 25 a week. You know. But you can sell them at school for $1 a piece. You know, so
I never would have thought of that.
Dude,
Yeah.
I used to sell blow pops. I didn't even think about
I
rubbers.
did think that my son should we should rent an apartment and
Yeah.
they should and then he would be able to rent it out weekends.
yeah.
So,
So, like, couple-
brothel.
Hey, house hacking 101.
that they could have parties.
But
there.
I'll be honest, I never would have thought to sell condoms in high school. I didn't
Hey.
even know we had condoms. I had 4 kids.
Yeah.
I wish you would have been in my high school. I would have I would have
He
stolen
had
a
half
condom
the middle
from you.
school
That would have been
homeroom.
the first time anybody had ever shown me a condom.
Yeah. So another good one. That was at 13, and I'll tell you, even technically prior to that, I would buy porno mags. I'm not gonna say which BP that I was going to because it's still in business today, and I actually the gentleman, the same guy that's been chewing and smoking that same cigar is still in there.
Wow.
I don't know
Same
how.
cigar.
Probably same cigar. And but anyway,
Did you ever think about maybe giving him some financial advice?
yeah, right, yeah.
For all the fucking porn mags you gave
Yeah.
me, your kids, the least you can do.
Yeah. So you buy a porno mag, and let's say whatever it is, let's say it's $8, right? And then I'd sell them $1 a page. You know, so if it was
Page.
now you got to think, you're like, oh, it's
Yeah.
great. No, I mean the whole thing's not got pictures on it, right?
Sure, it's all ads.
You know, there's a lot of ads and stuff.
Yeah, but
Advertisement to a kid.
a 13-year-old kid would have jerked off to an advertisement.
100%, 100%. You'd be
It's
surprised.
Jerky-Mon card.
Yeah.
God damn it, Tom. God damn it, Tom.
like,
No more from you.
Yeah.
It's like
But I
just-
averaged
I just
about,
busted a nut to Joe Camel.
You got them lips.
No, turn it
Hey.
over.
But anyway, about $50
Turn it over.
That's funny. About $50 a week from the porno mag sales, and about usually $25 a week from the condoms. Or $75 a week. Like, you know, and at 13, like that was where I
real money.
started. You know, it added up.
You probably could have made some money on little Kleenex packs.
Probably. But then I started selling other things like,
Deluxe
these little glass tubes that were like you'd throw them and they would smell like shit, smell
Oh,
like
yeah,
farts.
yeah. Stink bombs.
I sell those. I was selling. I mean, literally, man, anything. I would find out things that kids thought was really unique.
Yeah.
That definitely in the gray area there, but like condoms. You can't go in. Most kids were too bashful to go into the store and buy a condom. And now, how many of those kids were actually using them? Didn't matter.
Yes.
They thought it was cool.
Wanted to
They
have
thought
it.
it was cool to buy them.
Yeah.
Put one in the
Especially
wallet.
at that age.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember driving a friend of mine's.
Yeah.
My son's one of his friends home that was like the kid that was always at our house.
What's his name, you fucking knock?
Yeah.
And I was riding with him. I'm not saying his name, so I'm riding with him. And he
His name was John Smith. He was 13 years
He
old.
goes,
Social
dude.
security number.
No. He said he wanted to. He goes, I'm starting to think that I want to buy some condoms and have condoms. I need condoms. And I was like, okay. Well, they're for sale in every
Right.
gas station or convenience store. He's like, yeah, but every time I'm in there, I'm in with my parents.
Yeah.
So it's kind of embarrassing.
It's true.
And so I was like, does Owen feel the same way? And he was like, yeah, I think he does. And I was like,
Yeah.
maybe how about if I buy condoms and then you guys steal them out of my nightstand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah.
you do that?
No, because I instantly thought that's terrible. Why
Well,
would
how
I
old
even
is-
think that,
how
right?
old
They're
is Owen?
14 or whatever.
He's 14?
Or at the time
Nah,
of this
bro.
happened.
Here's what you got.
And I was like, if you're too nervous about buying a condom, then
Yeah.
you're too
Yeah, but
young
he's
to
still-
be
Be
getting
fucking-
pussy in the first
I
place.
don't know, man.
That's a judgment you're going to make, and that judgment is going to be a mistake. And here's why: because kids are going to fuck when they're going to fuck.
That's right.
And having the conversation about the condoms is super important.
Yeah.
I do not have a fantastic relationship with my dad, but one cool thing I remember, I was at this girl, and I'm not going to say her name, you fucking knock. I was at this girl's house.
I was like, come on, Zach, you can get a condom. I can buy them for
I
you.
was 14 years old,
Not gonna say his
and
name.
I was at this girl's house, and we was about to fuck, and I didn't have a rubber. I called my dad, and he drove across town.
I love it.
And just dropped off rubbers out the world's first Uber. Put him out there, didn't say a fucking word, and drove away.
Hey,
and
good dad.
I still remember.
That's
no, he
great.
wasn't a good dad.
No, that part. That was a good dad.
But
Good
that
moment.
part,
that like
right?
good boy, that was a good dad.
You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, it's just like that. I think when it comes to sex stuff, the same way kids are timid buying condoms,
Yeah.
parents are timid about talking about it,
Yeah.
and that's why I started having kids when I was fucking 17 years old. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Well,
you need to.
you might be nervous about buying a condom, but when you're whatever age and you
boy.
got a girl on top of you and that thing does what that thing does, the
not
last thing on
thinking
your
about
mind is, I need to get a condom.
Yeah, but then
You
I'll
need
tell
to
You
you.
last
showed a
thing
lot
on
of
your
you showed a
mind.
lot of
Yeah.
restraint.
Well, when I
17.
Because I sold my condoms, and I'm a big believer is you don't get high on your own supply, so I didn't use those things because they were worth money. My pullout game was strong.
I'm not saying I used them, but here's the thing. Cut to 4 years later, I got 3 kids, no car.
See?
I'm walking kids down the side of the highway. I got groceries hanging off the stroller, and the tire comes off. Dude, if you would have given me a condom right then, I would have wrapped them around my kids' heads. You know what I mean?
Bro,
yeah.
It's important.
Your dad didn't talk to you about pulling out, bro.
You didn't have to. I was pretty good at it. When I
Not
started
good
having
enough.
kids, I was trying to have those kids when I was 17.
yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
we were
Really?
savages. Yeah, bro. Me and this girl. I mean, I was a fucking. You know the story about where I come from.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, oh, I get a thing to love. You know what I mean? It was like the worst version of getting a puppy. But I was like, I'll have this thing. I'll love it. It'll love me. You know what I mean? And that was all I needed.
Yeah.
And then I just started having kids, man. And honestly, having them at 17 wasn't the best idea because it's crazy. But I'm only alive because I had that kid when I was 17 years old.
Yeah.
If I had not had that kid, I would be in prison or I would be dead. 1,000,000%. There's no fucking.
Yeah.
There was nothing keeping me alive, and that kid kept me alive.
It'd be
Yeah,
fun
fair
if you're
enough.
like, I would be in prison like him.
I mean, no,
That
he's
little
in prison.
fuck,
But
no.
what before we move on to anything, Tom, how old is that fucking water bottle you got? I've seen you.
I refill it out of my.
I just wanna
I
let
have
you
a
know-
filter in my house, so I refill it because it's a
love
good
Fiji.
amount, and I drink. If I drink 3 of them,
But they're
that's-
this is single-use plastic. You got to get.
I mean,
rid
no.
of it.
Here's
you
the
mean?
thing: is I'll hold on to a bottle for a couple weeks. I'm not above it, brother. I'm not judging you at all. But how old is that bottle?
Yeah, you're
'Cause,
not judging me.
we've
at
I'm
all.
known
definitely gonna judge you. You're
We've
drinking
known
plastic right
we've
now.
Known each other, we've known each other for.
Tom, you're drinking plastic.
Yes.
No, hold on.
You're killing
We've
your
known
balls.
each other for about.
I'm so serious right now. I'm so serious.
We've
right
known
now.
each other for
Wait.
about 10 years.
Wait, what do you mean I'm
You've
killing
had,
my balls?
You've had that bottle for 10 years,
No,
man.
no.
Yeah, 10 years I've seen that bottle.
That bottle came out 5 years ago. It's at least 5.
I have had it about 6 months. You're right.
That's
It's an old
Tom,
fucking bottle, buddy.
Get rid of that bottle.
Yeah, it's not
I'm being
good. They
so
don't
serious.
make that
Yeah.
for long term
man.
for long term
Look,
use.
go to Walmart.
Yeah.
I'm serious. They
Yep.
have I have one.
Dude, he has.
I got you.
They have a because people
The metal
carry around
ones.
people
I
carry
have
around the
one.
Yetis and stuff, but Walmart has their own. It's
Yeah.
like $14. It's a liter.
It's
just like
so
that.
nice, dude.
Yeah.
Keeps it cold all day long.
Real
yeah.
easy to
It's great.
clean.
Easy to clean. Drink 3 of
You
those
want-
a day.
You seem seriously concerned like that for my health.
Yeah,
serious.
dude, I used
Don't
to work
drink
in
out of
water treatment. Those bottles, they degrade, man. You don't want that.
yeah.
It really does.
But it's been in my car too, like getting
That's
the heat.
even worse.
That's the
Why
worst.
are you
Yeah.
making it worse? Like, why
It's
are
been in my car too.
And the heat.
baking.
Yeah.
And melting into the water covering.
I make sure I leave it in the yard
You
on
care
Saturdays.
about the environment so much. You would think you're the first person to know that that's.
He's
a
like,
bad
I
idea."
can't figure out why this thing doesn't work anymore.
Oh my God! Is that why I'm starting to get tumors alongside my nuts?
No, it's the vitamin B shots you're taking. Of
Yeah.
course, it's the water
Yeah,
bottle.
you're
you
drinking.
dummy.
You're drinking microplastics.
Yeah.
Yeah, get rid of that shit.
So long story short, hire a professional and
And,
like-
and see a professional.
and see a professional.
I'm like, hey, this is how Bitcoin works, and I'm over here drinking fucking
Six
plastic.
old plastic.
Let me refill this.
Oh shit!
Does it have? It's been making. No wonder I've been sleeping 20 hours a day.
There you go.
I do want to ask a question though.
Yeah.
What was your first accomplishment that made you feel like you were on the right path, like where you're like, I'm on to something here?
See, this is a great question specifically because you have that answer, but then you have that answer twice because you built a lot, you
Yeah.
lost a lot, you built it again.
I think if I went back, and this is not a stab at my family, but every family puts their children in a box, right? So you'd base your child's potential based off what you think is acceptable, right? So like, let's say that you thought a home that was worth $200,000 was a lot, and a home worth $500,000 was just like you would.
Beyond.
It's actually, you're doing a disservice to the world buying a $500,000 house. Let's say that was your opinion, right? And you thought that a $200,000 house was just like a lot of house and that you'd be blessed to have that, but you'd do with a $150,000 house, right? Well, then what happens is you teach your children those things.
Lower their standards.
Right, you're lowering your child. You're setting the parameter they're going to be in, right? So I think the first real eye opener.
Why
for
is
me,
that a lower standard? by the way? Why is it not
Because
a higher
you're
standard
telling
to-
your child what to dream, how big a dream is too big.
Yeah.
Instead of letting them figure it out for themselves,
Okay.
you're literally saying, no, that dream is too big, right? Like, no, you can't accomplish that. So, like, you're literally putting yourself, you're putting the people you love in a box.
Is it the difference between taking what's available and pushing towards
You,
the thing
and
you
there
actually
is no
want?
ill will, by the way. I should say this.
No,
I'm not
100%.
saying the parent is doing it out of a negative position.
Yeah.
So my first
Because
real
that mindset was probably instilled in them. In
100%.
their parents, right?
Right.
What if,
so
what if you're still in the mindset of, even if you have that money, there's no reason to spend to be that extravagant?
No.
Right, but,
well,
it, but
now
but
you're
not
now
with
you're
these-
telling
that's
your
a
child
little-
to think the way that you think, not based
Yeah.
on what they find. So
Yeah.
I think everybody has things that they find important, and so let's say that I'm huge into craft, handmade, solid wood furniture, and I really value it. And I want to buy a piece of furniture that somebody's got 2,000 hours in building. And because of that 2,000 hours and that human labor and that time and that passion and their 30 years they've been building furniture, I'm willing to pay $20,000 for that piece of furniture. Okay. Some people might say that that's a terrible decision. And even if you had $20,000, why would you waste it on a piece of furniture, right? And you would make a decision based, and it would literally diminish what I find value in, right? And so you're literally setting your children up to try and mirror what you find valuable instead of trying to figure out what they find valuable themselves, right? So another example of that might be, yes, I can go to Walmart and buy a chair for $200, right? But it doesn't have the same meaning behind it. So I think that's one of the risks you run. And then the other side of this is, I know everybody thinks they're driven by money, but they're not. A lot of people are driven to chase a passion, and money is a byproduct. There are people that make decisions solely based on money. They're not very happy. And you'll figure out a guy with money that's doing something he doesn't like is unhappy, just like the guy without money that's doing something he doesn't like. I would argue I'd much rather be unhappy with money than unhappy without it.
I'd like
Right.
to try that.
Yeah. So,
I mean, I've
but
been just the unhappy thing for a while, so I'm looking to diversify and add another.
Sure. And create passive income.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
Add
sure.
to your portfolio.
That's right.
yeah. So
sure.
now, and then we need to put it in context too. So if you want to have a conversation about, hey, the $500,000 house is too much, based on what? Like what metric are you basing that on? Like, you're saying, well, a $200,000 house would do, right? And so you just like it's like, well, what's that based on? Well, I know people in other countries, third world countries, that would say a hut with a roof over it would do, right? So like it's all perspective. So I try to keep myself from passing limiting beliefs onto my children.
Yeah.
And if they say something like, "Oh, I want to have a $10 million house," well, based on today's inflation rate, you just might.
Yeah.
But
Might be living in it.
Yeah.
It'll
But
be the same house.
I agree with you. It's
Yeah.
like it's one thing to teach greed, and that's not what
No,
you're
no,
teaching.
that's definitely not
That's-
teaching that.
It's like it's not what you're teaching. It's like just teach belief in that you can achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah,
That's all it is.
and if
it's
you-
like
if
even
you-
if it's like, oh yeah, like I want to achieve the ability to get a $500,000 house, and even if you were to put it into a kid's mind, like go for that.
Yeah.
Also know that you can be happy with a $200,000 house, but definitely strive
Yeah.
for
Right.
the $500,000 house if that's what makes
Having
you
the
truly
ability to do all the things and then
Yes.
choosing to do less is
Right.
different.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah,
and
it's totally different.
let's talk about the unit of value again. Let's talk about green paper. What is 500 grand? Right? It's an exchange of value. What your child is really telling you is that I'm willing to work. Let's say that they knit socks. They work at a sock factory and they knit socks, and that's what they do for 30 years. What your child is really saying is that I think that I should knit socks for 30 years, and in exchange for that, what I would like is I would like a lake house. Right? What they're really talking about is an exchange of their time for something they perceive value in.
Right.
The number happens to be 500 grand today. Tomorrow it's $1 million, right? The number is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Really is what is it that motivates you? And we all have a choice. That's why I ask them, like, begin with the end in mind. Like, what is it you're trying to accomplish? Like really define it. Like, well, my goal is this. And I'm going to say, okay, well, why? Right? So let's really get down to it. Like, let's say your goal is to live off the land, and you want to be one with nature. You want to spend more time meditating. You want to spend more time being thankful for these things. You want to be a minimalist. You don't need to take the same path necessarily that I'm taking, because you don't need all these things, right? There are public beaches. There is so much land that's not being utilized, that's owned by the government or that's available to the public. There are other. There's all this opportunity to go out. You can go camp to your heart's desire, especially if you go out west, right? So like you don't need money necessarily the same way. Whereas, let's say that my goal or his goal, like he said, hey, I want to have a lake home in Mooresville on Lake Norman. Well, if you'd have bought the house that I just bought a few weeks ago in 1999, sold for $265,000, okay, in 1999, right? Now, if you would have worked hard and you wanted to own that lake home and you bought it for $265,000, let's say, or $295,000, whatever it was, you might say, well, that's an awesome deal. That's a reasonable price. You should do that. It's a cottage on the lake. It just sold for $1.2 million. Now you're going to go, oh, that's insane. Why would anybody do that? Why would you spend 1.2? Right? Like the number is irrelevant.
Lakes are nice, though.
No, they are. But really, it's not the number. It's the goal. The goal was never to have a $1.2 million house. The goal was to have the lake home on the house.
Right.
I mean, the home on the lake.
Yeah.
Right.
You got
And
a
so
good
I think
dock?
that's.
You got a good dock?
Oh, yeah, a bunch of them.
Back to Jordan's question.
Oh, the thing.
What
So-
were the accomplishments that
So
you knew were
I think
you
it
were on
was
right
the
path?
first time. So my mom. I'm not going to get too much in their story, but
Sure.
Dad essentially went into the military at 17, and we lived on military bases. We grew up what I would say is poor. My mom disagrees with that. We did not go without. I wasn't starving. I was very loved. Definitely. But if we're honest, and if we look at the reality of things, we were poor. So 4 boys, military.
Yeah.
Young family. We weren't starving, but we weren't wealthy,
You're
right?
getting by, yeah.
We were barely getting by. We weren't middle class, right?
Yeah.
So I remember.
And that's weird because, not weird, but in that situation, your housing is taken care of.
Maybe if you live on base. We lived in Germany, so yeah, we lived on base. I agree.
So there's a lot
But take the military pay. My dad didn't go in the military as an officer. He went in the military as a 17-year-old.
Right.
Right.
With a family?
Eventually having a family. I'm the oldest, but so 4 boys, mother that's raising the children on military pay, and you can go back and look at what it was.
Pretty low, probably.
Yeah, and even look at it today at entry level. I'm talking about infantry level, right? Entry level military with no education. Even walking in today, it's if you compare that to the national average income, it's below, right? And then you go, well, you're getting housing or a housing allowance, but that's a net zero. Right, so if you want to live off base, right? If you live on base, you don't get the allowance. So you live for free, right? No. If you live off base, they're giving you the difference in pay, but you have to use it for rent.
Right.
And because you're traveling with the military, most of them, especially at that point, are not able to buy homes, so you can't invest the money. So literally, it's a loss. It's a complete loss, and rent's not write off. So it doesn't affect your taxable income. So like you start looking at all these series of decisions that get made for you, and I would say, well. I do think there's a way to go into the military and over a long period of time do very well, especially if you go in as an officer, if you get a degree.
Right.
But I don't think it's the same opportunity as if you were to take that same energy and go a different route. So if you're passionate to serve the country, that's a whole different thing, right? But I say we were poor because off the money that we had, there were many. My mom went years without buying clothes. Like all the money went to the kids. Like
Right.
I remember my mom's taking the metal out of her bra, the wire, and still using it to wear for a long period of time and not buying us stuff. But we were growing so quickly, we were always buying clothes, right? So, like, I remember her making sacrifices as a young kid. I remember being, at a mall we were walking through, and I wanted to go to the arcade, and we didn't have the money to play. So, like, when I say we didn't have money, we didn't have extra money, right? We weren't starving.
Yeah, it's not an insult to anybody.
Yeah, no.
It's just the fact of the matter, right?
Yeah, it's not. I'm definitely not. I'm not dogging it.
Yeah.
My mom, we were well taken care of. My mom went without.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm not gonna say my dad didn't go without. I'm sure he did
Yeah,
too.
and that's the thing that you
Yeah.
look at and you're like, it needs to be better than that.
Yeah. So they said I remember the first house that this resonated with me was on Legend Drive in Ashburn, North Carolina, and previous to that was Spink Street. And I remember we were renting this house, and I remember my dad. They went from the Spink Street house, which was 4 walls. And we were renting that, and we went to this house on Legend Drive, and I remember them talking about it. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And I remember there's my mom, my dad, 4 kids, right? 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It was large. We were gonna have all this space, And I remember my dad talking about it, and I remember making a comment like, you know, when I get older, I'm going to own a house this. And my dad said something like, you know, to own a home like this is a great thing. You should be happy if you ever even can attain that. So some version of that, right? And he basically kind of put me in a box like, hey, this should be your goal, right? And if you could ever accomplish this, it's really difficult. If you ever accomplish this, great. And then I'll tell you, so my dad went through this kind of awakening where he worked in the military, but then after he got out, that was his day job. He was trying to be an entrepreneur. He's learning to become an entrepreneur, and he's self-taught, right? And he failed over and over and over and over and over again, and eventually did very well. But I had the benefit of growing up without that, right? And I got dragged to all these Metaluca and Sportstron and Amway and all these different meetings where he was now. And
I remember
tell you,
Amway. My parents did that too.
Yeah.
but I'll tell you,
Yeah.
he learned a lot.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you what it does is there's a lot of education there, and a lot of the stuff that they're teaching, I'm not talking about the product that they're peddling. I'm talking about the information that they're teaching. A lot of that stuff's right on point.
And it carries over and
It
translates
does.
Yeah.
into other
Yeah.
ways. Yeah.
So, you know, and I'm not
Plus,
dogging.
they save money, like when they would wash my mouth out with soap.
Yeah, there you go.
It was cheaper.
They'd get a
Save money on
commission.
They get a commission off of it. But it taught salesmanship. How about rainbow vacuums? You know, I thought, what a scam, right? But guess what? You're teaching salesmanship, and people, if you perceive value in something, and I can sell it to you for $2,000, right? And you perceive a value in it, and I'm selling it for that price, and you agree to pay it. Well, then that is what it is, right? I don't perceive a value in it, so I didn't buy one. But that's the thing. So the first time I ever felt a sense of accomplishment, I think. All the little things that I didn't really do it. It was the first time that I did something that my mother and father were kind of like, wow, right? Like,
That was when you moved into the garage.
no.
So
That time, that sucks.
What was that? What
That was I told you so.
What was that? So what was that moment where they had that look?
I
when-
think it was, I bought my first duplex when I was 18.
was that the accomplishment?
I think so, because I bought it. My deal was I worked part-time at RBC Centura. Richard Brooks and Mike King were Mike King was a branch manager. Richard Brooks was the commercial banker. It was their duplex. But I bought it. And there was a thing with Countrywide, a big reason why Countrywide had the problems they had. But basically, if you were full-time employed for at least 6 months and had a pulse, you know, you could get a loan. And so at 18, I bought a duplex, and I qualified based on the very limited underwriting. And my plan was to rent one side and live in the other. And it just so happened that the tenant upstairs was moving out, so I moved in upstairs, and I moved in with the tenant, and the tenant downstairs paid the nut. So literally, I lived for free. Right, so my very first duplex, I think, kind of did that because, you know, it was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, top and bottom, so 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, and I had a tenant, and I was in business. I was a landlord at 18 years old, and I think my parents were surprised. Like, they were like, I think they were proud, but they were like, I don't think that I was talking about doing it, but I don't think that, and they knew I was very entrepreneurial way prior to that, but I don't think it really set in.
They're like, son, you got all these condoms.
Yeah, right.
going on in your life?
What are you doing?
You're like, I'm business.
Yeah, I'm business is good, Dad.
Yeah.
But then when I bought the second house, you know, I moved out of the top of the duplex. I rented it out. Now it became a cash flowing property, right? I bought the second house, and my now wife, but Jessica, I had a rule: we didn't hang things. We didn't have internet. We didn't have TV. I didn't want to spend the money. I didn't want to hang something because that was a nail hole that we'd had to fix. Right, so we were living there, but that's all we were doing. We were literally it was just a place to live. It was a mattress on the floor. I didn't decorate it. We didn't have. Why would you waste money on that? Stupid. We're in the early part of our life. This is not.
Right.
This is not enjoying it. We're grinding. Right. I just need a place to lay my head.
Yeah, you need shelter, not a nest.
Exactly. Right. So you don't go in and start nesting. Which, you know, I'll tell you, everybody else, they nest. I didn't. Right. I'm not using that money because I'm saving the money for the next down payment. Right. Or I'm saving that money to rehab this house that I'm in. And then the plan is that I'm going to go buy another one. I'm going to rent this one out, right? And I did that, and I moved her 9 or 10 times before I bought our first home on Lake Norman, right?
Right.
And everybody was like,
Was that the goal the whole time? When did the house on Lake Norman become the?
We got lost, and we were on an anniversary trip. And we got lost. We were heading to Brevard County to look at the waterfalls. Again, something for free that I could take her to go do. Right, go look at the natural waterfalls in North Carolina. So it was a fairly inexpensive trip. And we got lost. This is before I had GPS on my phone. And somehow we ended up in Mooresville when we drove over the 77 bridge towards Charlotte, and we saw the lake. And I turned around, and we stopped at a gas station there in Mooresville off exit 35. Which now it's off exit 35. We had to take exit 33 at the time. And I was like, hey, man, I want to go look at a really rich person's house on the lake. And I'm like, I'm young. And he's like, well, you're actually just take Brawley, just turn gun and run until you're going to run right into the point. And he's like, you'll find something. We did. We drove and we drove into the point. And we found a vacant lot, an empty lot. And we got out of the car and we went and sat in the grass and just kind of looked at the lake. And I was like, one day we'll retire here, I don't believe in retirement, but at that time, that's what I said. I said, we'll retire here. This is our goal, right?
So did you buy that piece?
No, not that one. Down the road. Yep.
So you said something on one of the podcasts a while back that you guys go for drives through a certain neighborhood.
Yeah. So here's another thing that happened. So he was talking about, hey, your parents' garage. Well, I lost everything and started over. So rule number 1, Warren Buffett, first rule is don't lose money. And what happened is I became complacent. What was the word we used earlier?
You bought
comfortable.
You bought a frame for the mattress.
Yeah, I started figuring. Yeah, I started nesting. I started spending money. I started buying the toys that I didn't need, and took my eye off the ball. I started enjoying life, and I also was doing a whole lot of partying. This is pre-kids, and I was traveling a lot. I was renting super stretch limo to super stretch limo, and then ended up on paying the driver whatever it took to end up on the ocean, on the beach with the super stretch limo at 4 o'clock in the morning, like doing dumb shit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And on top of doing dumb shit,
you call it dumb, but it sounds pretty fucking cool.
It was fun. It was fun. I had a good time, man.
Doing the Jordan Belfort.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about all that, but some of it for sure.
It can be both. It can be dumb and fun.
Yeah. But no, the biggest thing was there were some factors that actually, even though I was distracted, there were things that happened that were beyond my control. However, had I been paying attention, I would have handled it differently, right? So it was all good and fun, but it flipped on me.
It caught up to you.
So but the good news is when I lost everything, I spent 18 months in my parents' garage that they closed in, and I knew exactly what to do, so I was able to do it much, much, much faster.
What did you remove?
Oh, everything.
So the change of that's a mindset. Shift when you lose everything.
You go back to
it took the partying, the toys,
all of it. Yeah, I lost it all. And I quit. I took it all away.
You got more disciplined.
100%. You just start over. Like literally, and a good analogy now. I didn't think about it at the time, but if you play video games, you do anything in life, right? When you die, you don't go, oh shit, I'm gonna eat a bullet. No, you go, I'm gonna respawn and I'm gonna try it again and try not to die the same way, right? You're gonna die again. And I think you should think about business and investment and life like that. Like plan on losing and then learning. Like, okay, I don't do that again, right? And like it's trial and error, right? So the good news is I had already done a fair amount of that, so I kind of already knew like, okay, I can do this, and this, and this. And here's a good tip for anybody out there that really wants some heavy lifting. If you can buy used commercial pool tables currently between $1,200 and $1,500, right? Now, the second part of this is salesmanship, but go find a bar that doesn't have a pool table, and you can do it the way you want to do it, but I did a 50-50 vend split. So I would buy a pool table for, say, $1,200. I would find a bar. I'd put the pool table in, and my part of the profit was about $600 a month. I'd show up every Monday morning, first thing early. I'd empty all the quarters out. At that time, it was quarters. And I'd chop it in half. The bar would get half. I get the other half. And usually every table averaged me about $600 a month. So that's $7,200 a year. And I had 10 tables. I built up to 10, right? So I made $72,000 a year off of 10 pool tables. Jeez. And I went one day a week on Mondays and picked up all my quarters, right? So it's something as simple as that. You need an idea,
you made that money basically in 50 to 52 days a year.
Right. And really, because of the way I had the route built, really it was about 4 hours of those 52 days. So 4 of my 24 hours. Wow. But the whole key is you need scale. So if you really want to get wealthy, you need to have an idea that generates some amount of predictable, some kind of cookie cutter system that generates X, and then you need to be able to multiply it. Right. And so that was that times 10, right? Like, so $7,200 doesn't sound like a lot of money, but times 10 and $72,000 for 4 hours of every Monday.
Right.
That's right.
Some people's legit salary.
Right. So what I would say is, I already knew things to do. Now today, it's a lot of heavy lifting. The pool tables are very heavy.
Yeah,
And
slave.
it's a pain in the ass. I don't have time, and I could go out, and I'm sure I could go out and do it now, but now I've got other things. So now I have to play the game. Eventually, you start playing the game of, okay, yes, I can make this 72 grand, but it prevents me from making this 150,000 because I only have so much time, right? So now we've got to figure out. You got to start making better decisions. Which, and the good thing is as people elevate in life and they start making different decisions, it creates opportunity for other people, right? So as I stopped taking the opportunity, it created another opportunity for somebody else to come in and run the pool table business. So I sold it, right? And I sold it, and I cashed out, and it was a great thing for me, but it also became a great thing for the next person.
Right.
So, you just got, I think you start looking at life a little differently, and making money is easy. Keeping it's a whole other thing.
Well, so far making money hasn't been the easiest thing.
Yes.
But I think if you got a natural talent.
Do you know anybody that you could put a pool table in their place?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got a couple places. I'm going to show up in your fucking business.
But a pool table, arcade, ATM,
Yeah.
And here's the other thing, man.
Miss Pac-Man machine.
If you know a lot, yeah, but 100%. 100%.
So as far as, when it comes to entertainers, any financial advice on how for people again, in Jordan's position, who's a young, talented dude, he's got some opportunities coming up. What are the things he needs to look out for, plan for? I mean, is that dependent on goals?
I think it is. But I
You
think
sell merch?
Yeah, I was gonna say merch is big. Yeah. But I don't know what your social media. It just depends on how you want to attack it.
Right. Yeah.
I'd find a good partnership because you can't do everything.
Yeah.
Like
That's
the merch,
the trick,
a merch
right?
partnership.
Right. Yeah.
And-
Because that's the trick. Because like growing a following where brands want to work with you and stuff. Because
Yeah.
like on TikTok, I'm at like 300,000, which opens
Followers?
Me up,
Yeah.
which opens me up to like monetization of things.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Right now, it's like, all right, which one of these is legit and which one of these is worth my time.
Yeah.
Instagram is not there yet.
Yeah.
But I know people where it's like.
Does your TikTok have your Instagram link on it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just hard to get people to
go through.
to
It's
transfer.
two different clients
Yeah,
technically.
It's totally different.
Yeah.
It's like weird to get people to.
So I think, bar that, I think you've got to figure out ways to make money that either are derivatives of what you're already doing, or when you're not doing that, you need things like the pool
Yes.
table's not going to work because
Sure,
you're going to
sure.
need people to help you move it.
Right, yeah.
They make devices and machines, but it's a massive pain in the ass, I
Yeah.
promise you.
Yeah.
At that age, I just had buddies.
Yeah.
Right.
You're like, hey guys, I get 4 or 5 buddies, and you fucking you do it, right? And I buy them lunch, or you throw them a couple bucks. Like it's a different thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of heavy lifting in that, literally, but I think I would find things that create some. You need RMR, recurring monthly revenue. You need, and I like weekly revenue even better.
Yeah.
You need something that you do once and pays you multiple times, even if it's a small amount of money.
Yeah.
Right, and then you just continue to do it over and over and over again. So, like in New York, I'd really have to think about it, but I would try to find things that you can make money on, that are already in your direct path.
When I used to when I used to travel the road, I sold frogs. I would set up frog sales
Yeah.
all the way from here to Michigan and back, and I would make more money selling frogs than I would doing comedy.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
million percent.
Yeah.
Tom, you've been doing comedy for a long time. You've been mostly by yourself with the business part of it and the performance part of it. I think you've had representation at different times, but you've mostly done it by yourself. Is it? How do you feel about it? Like, you do need a team, right? You need some people to take some other shit off your plate. If you're a creative person, you need to.
Yeah, but those people charge money, and then money you don't have, and you know what I mean. It's
Fine.
for
Find people that only get paid if you get paid.
yeah. I'd love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, no, that's the hard part, right?
Yeah.
But that's what a
But
partner.
they only want you if you're already doing big
Well,
things. It's
I think-
a crazy thing, man.
Well,
Yeah.
hold on, his brother, right? You got to work for free in the beginning, right?
Well, yeah, he's
So maybe-
trying to get him to work for free.
He's doing it now. He listens.
Yeah,
He
but maybe
listens.
you get a manager that's willing to work for free because they don't have the clout that the other
Right.
managers have, right?
Right.
But
Which
they
means
have the drive.
they have
Yeah.
drive, but they don't know.
That's-
They don't know what the fuck they're doing either.
That's exactly the thing. Because I just fired my manager
Yeah.
because it's like
Because
they didn't have the drive.
and they have a career of like they can help you if you get a if you get a special,
Yeah.
I can really help you, motherfucker. I don't need you now.
It's like that's what I need you for to help
Yeah.
me get to
Yeah.
the special.
You need
But-
people to invest in you early.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
before you get the
Have
break.
Have you guys?
I want to
seen-
find a cartoonist that will trade being a cartoonist for
Well-
money to be made later, because things like like
You're
like
on
you're
the
saying
show
on
that does
TikTok,
that.
right? Like,
You're on the show that does that, by the way. I haven't made. I don't care if this business pays me $1 or $10 million. It's not going to change my life at all. Right? We put money in that. We put money in this day one, and we're going to spend a ton of money.
Yeah.
So you're literally on a show with people that are putting money in people that we see value in,
Right.
with no guarantee of $1 in return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are people out there.
Yeah.
You got to find them, right?
That's what I was talking to Jesse the other day.
I just don't. I just don't have the mind. I just get like, I don't care. Like I want to have the things, but I don't want to put that work in. I'm just lazy.
Well, then you got to focus on your passion and hope that you've made a good partnership decision, and that somebody else that's worried about your financial decisions is leading you down a good path, so that you can just do that passionate thing that you like to do.
Yeah,
right?
that really is the trick.
Yeah.
It really is a trick. There's people who are just business. There's people who are just creative. There's people in the middle.
Yeah.
And each one of those positions needs the other positions.
Yeah.
How many CDs do you have?
I only have one album.
You get the one, yeah.
Yeah, it's on Spotify and Sirius. I get a Sirius check.
Right,
every
those
month
Sirius
or
checks.
whatever.
is that?
By the way, I think
Yeah,
that
Sirius XM.
TikTok.
Yeah.
No, I meant the dollar amount.
Oh.
If you don't want to say, you don't want to say.
It's not like it varies. On average, like 700.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
Yeah, I get like
Yeah.
I get whatever
Yeah.
3,500 a quarter or something.
Yeah,
Some
it's
crazy.
like every month I'll get like at $700, or sometimes it's like $400. But other, it just depends.
So-
But it's
so
like
like if I-
passive income.
if
But
I-
I think that TikTok, for instance, pays into that. Like if the song at the bottom is one of your
Yeah.
tracks of your
wow,
album,
Yeah.
I think you could, let's say you get 1 million views on it,
Yeah.
and you make money per view.
Yeah.
Right.
So you'll get paid for the TikTok view, plus you get paid
Yeah.
for the spins through
Oh, wow.
Spotify.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that because sometimes TikTok will get like weird about that shit. They'll
Yeah.
be like, oh, that's a song coming out. We got to mute that because clearance or whatever. And it's like, it's mine.
Yeah.
it's
Oh, really?
my thing. I've had them mute it before
Yeah.
or whatever. It's just like, guys, like this is my thing.
You got to provide a release. You got to provide TikTok for a release for your own music.
Yeah,
for your own
something
thing.
like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I think if I was in your shoes or partnered with somebody like you, I think what I would do is I would typically the thing that you monetize is probably the thing that you hate to do. And I would tell you to lean in. Like the thing that's paying you in the beginning needs to be the thing you lean into. So if you don't want to lean into it, you need somebody else to help you lean into it.
Right.
So if you're saying, hey, I've got one album or one CD or one whatever out and it's paying me X, let's call it 10 grand a year, then I would tell you to do 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 of those things.
Right. Yeah.
And then I would figure out what drives that traffic, and I would tell you to do more of that.
Yeah.
Right? And what's driving that traffic might be your TikTok presence. It might be your social media. And then I would say, well, do you have anybody helping you build those things?
Yeah.
And the answer is no. I would say, okay, let's work that. And then, and just so you
I'm on
know,
the same page,
I own other
yeah.
people's channels and other people's things that have done very, very well.
Yeah.
We thought it would cheapen the process for us to try and get subscribers through that. So we don't even link the two.
Yeah.
But I know people that are making $600,000 and $700,000 a year off of YouTube from their ad share, not counting everything else they do.
Right. Yeah.
So why not buy
that's
ads
on the
in
page.
their thing for this? Like you,
I could. We haven't spent $1 advertising this yet because we were trying to learn and figure it out. Because when you guys hear me talk, you hear me talking about money, right? But this wasn't done specifically for money.
Yeah.
So we wanted to figure it out. We wanted to get processes down, right? Like we wanted to get the relationship, the team. Like we met Jesse in a Starbucks, and I remember you remember that, Jesse?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he probably thought we were crazy. He's
Did
like,
you?
A little bit crazy, you know. Yeah, you just don't know people until you know them, you know.
Yeah. So we had a meeting which Neil had arranged. Jesse came in. You know, we were there. I was very busy. I was halfway in the meeting, to be honest with you, and we were talking about this dream. We were still concrete in here. Like it was still.
I just saw pictures of that the other day of this beer space.
Yeah. So and he didn't know us from Adam. So like he didn't know that we followed through on what we said we do. We have a history of that. So, you know, it built, and then who would have known? How did we get to Eric? How do we get to all the people? Tom, how did I meet you? Like, it takes time. And what I was going to say earlier, how many people have made it, and you see that their friends and family, like the people they consider family, made it with them?
Yep.
Right.
And that's the thing. That's what we were looking for. We were trying to figure out, like, because I was just saying in there, like, if the business's success depends on me being in front of this mic, we got a problem. Right, because I'm right.
Well, it does a little bit.
Well,
so here's the thing, right? Is I think I think you're right in thinking that, but also, you know, if you have to be in front of that mic and be the one to to put it out, that's not going to happen. If I got to be the one to push the buttons, it ain't going to happen. But us working together,
100%.
My job is to, we all have a job now,
Yeah.
and to make the thing better and better and better.
Yeah, and we get the team, and then like you were talking about, like we've got a contract for animated series we're doing. We hired the Comedy Central. I mean, we got all kinds of stuff in the works.
We got a comedy special going. We'll
Yeah.
be shooting more and more of those.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, we've got the funds. If we know, we got to figure out what we're doing, but.
Jesse and I were talking the other day, and we were kind of coming up with a plan of how to attack this from a daily work schedule and da-da-da.
Yeah.
And I said, this is that situation you always wanted, right? Like when you were a kid, I used to think there's never going to be a couple of millionaires who come up and be like, what do you like to do? And here the fuck I am, you know what I mean? And like, you can't process that. It is a real thing, and now supporting each other and building the team really is. Who knows? Maybe it fucking goes belly up, but I don't have that energy, man. I think
it couldn't go belly up.
Right.
There's no debt whatsoever at all. And it's all paid for.
Yeah.
And all the buildings paid for. This town. So really, the only thing that could happen is people
time.
just change their mind and they don't want to do it. Right.
Right.
But I think
or change their mind and fucking commit more and more and more.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? The more we get committed, the more we're just going to push the fuck up.
Me as a business person, when I look at this opportunity, what I could have done, there are channels for sale, right? It's just like anything else. A YouTube channel is a business, right?
Dude, Instagram accounts.
Instagram for sale, yeah.
Every day I unfollow somebody because I'm like, I didn't follow that.
Yeah.
But they just built it big enough. They got me as a follower.
They
got
sold
enough
it.
people. Then they sold it and
somebody changed it. So I could have very easily, I researched this.
Huh.
Yeah. I could have very easily bought channels there. And again, I co-own other channels that are doing very, very, very well. I could have very easily researched a channel, right, that was a similar, like let's say I wanted to talk about real estate on here. I could have researched a channel that talks predominantly about real estate that had 100,000 subscribers, 500,000 subscribers, and bought it. And then slowly you're going to lose part of that client base, that follow base, but if I'm talking about a similar topic, you're going to have a certain level of retention. So we could have shortcutted and fast-tracked this process, but we don't learn anything in that process, right? We would rather start from scratch and kind of figure it out. We can put money to it at any point, but we need to figure out what the hell we're doing first. And we didn't know what it was going to turn into. You never do. So
What are we doing?
Yeah.
I mean, right now what we're doing is
We're just talking.
We're just having conversations and shit. And we're trying to make everything look prettier.
I'm trying to give free crypto advice over here, and talk about his lake house.
Yeah. I
So,
like this.
I'm planting seeds. I own a real estate firm. I'll have one of my.
I mean, for real though, right? Like, what we're doing is, I mean, one of the things is, I think groups of people like this need to be in the same place, because Jourdain can teach people, and you can teach people about writing and artistry, but then having people who understand the finances that come behind that. That's not a thing I am. You said the word financial literacy earlier. Exactly, dude. You know what I mean? And,
Illiteracy. That's what I have.
Yeah. Well, what you have is dyslexia. You just pronounce it wrong.